Hi everyone, Carol here at Oak House Journals, and I promise you this really is the final video in that little mini series on self-locking envelopes. I was wrapping up some bits and pieces at the weekend and I suddenly remembered that I do this little origami envelope from time to time. This one is slightly different, but I thought I would just show you as something extra because you can adapt this and use it in your journals. And if you've seen my Chinese thread books, you'll know what I mean. And then this little one I was absolutely fascinated to find on Pinterest yesterday, so I want to share this one with you. So let's go with the easiest of them all, which is this little one. And I've got a sheet of paper off to one side, and this is 6 inches square, this piece of paper. There we go, it's just shy of 6 inches, but it is 15 centimeters square. So the first thing you do is you just fold your piece of paper in half and then in half again, so you've quartered it, and try and keep it as square as possible, but it's not absolutely critical with this one by any means. And just fold it, and then what you want to do is you just want to open up your piece of paper like so. Take your bottom edge and fold it into the center crease that you've just made, okay, like so. Open it out, and now take that bottom edge and fold it into the crease that you've just done, like so. Okay, with this piece folded in, fold back up to the center line like that, and it will give you an extra little fold mark along the bottom. Don't worry about that at all. So now what you want to do is you want to take this corner and fold it along that edge. So I'm just going to rotate that so that I can just make that crease like so. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. Take this corner and I'm going to fold it up to that line up there. Like so. And then once you've got those creases in place, just burnish with your bone folder. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a crease along this line here. So just take your piece of paper, and again I prefer to just make a turn with it and make sure that it is lined up at the top, so then you know that it's all square, and then do the same on the other side. Make a fold, and haven't done that very well, so let's try that one again. Make a fold. There we go. And your piece of paper should look like that. So if I open those two pieces out, you can see, just fold those in and you're almost done. So just again, burnish your creases or burnish your folds. Now what you want to do is, you can see that you have a center line down your page there. So what you want to do is you want to take this point here and this point here and fold them in so that they meet along that central line and create a point at the top of your piece of paper so that it looks like that. Okay, and now all you're going to do is fold this top portion over along this line here. Okay, so holding those two flaps down, fold it over, burnish with your bone folder, take your flap or your point and just tuck it in and it should go all nicely for you. And there you have your little envelope. I mean, this one is super easy. So hope you like that one. And again, this is another good one that can quite happily go into journals, or you can use it for notes around the house or whatever you want to do with it. So that's a lovely little easy one. The next one that I'm going to show you is this one. Now, if I pull that flap out, you can see that it looks a bit like a hat, but if I grab hold of these two pieces here on either side and pull, and then flatten it out at the bottom, you end up with a little box like that, or a little container. Now, these are great if you want to just throw some bits of rubbish in, or if you want to send out goodies in these. And you might think, well, it's got no lid to it, but if you do a couple of extra folds with this one, although it is designed to be an origami box or container, you can actually make this into one of the little pouches that I made for inside the Chinese thread books. Now, I didn't do this fold for the Chinese thread books, but it gives you more or less the same sort of container, and it makes a lovely little pouch for happy mail and or for journal inclusions. So let me show you how to make this one, and then when I get to this stage with the one that I've made, I will show you how to convert this into a little pouch. For this one, you're going to need a piece of paper about 30 centimeters by about 24, but you can vary that length to suit yourself. Now, I've got a piece of origami paper here, and as you can see, it's a square, so I don't really want that. So I'm just going to get rid of a portion off the side here with this one. So I'm just going to rip away a piece. I'm going to get those out of the way for the moment. So that's my piece of paper, and as I said, I think, yeah, this one is 25 by 30. So get your piece of paper, and you want to fold it hot dog style or landscape orientation. So you fold it like so, and then you just fold it in half, okay, like that. Open it out and make sure that you're folded along the short length. So that is my length, that is 24. Let me just check that, 25. So it's, if you put your piece of paper portrait, and then just make sure that you've got it folded so that the crease is at the bottom on the portrait orientation, like so. Okay, now what you want to do, we've got our center fold there. So now what you want to do is you want to take this corner here and you want to fold it along that center crease that we've just made. So I'm just going to turn that up at 90 degrees so that I can make sure I've got a nice sharp crease in there, because true to form, I've chosen a heavily patterned paper, which is a little bit difficult to see my creases on. So there we go, I've done one on one side, and now you want to do one on the other side. So your two edges are butting up down the middle, you've created a nice point like so. Now what you want to do is open out just one side and put your finger in. You can open both sides out actually. Put your fingers in the piece of paper and support on the opposite side of that central crease. So what we're doing is we're just opening out our piece of paper like there, like that, and then with your finger on the crease at the bottom, you're just folding it up and opening out like so. Okay, and then what you want to do is you just want to fold it over again, making sure that everything is nicely aligned. And you do the same with the other side. So Fingers on this side, or the right hand side of the crease, because we're going to be working, or that central crease, because we're going to be working on this left hand side. Just put your fingers inside the flap like so, and just reverse those diagonal creases that you did before, making sure that it lines up, and just make sure those creases go into play, and then fold it back over like that. And again, I'm just going to burnish my creases. Now what you want to do is you want to bring this edge in, this edge here, this small edge, down to that central line again, or central crease again, but only with the top flap. So bring it in, line it up along the top and make your crease, and then do the same on the other side. Like so. And I'm just going to hold mine in place as I burnish it. So with those two pieces in place, what you have, if I lift it up, is you have something like that. Okay, so I'm just going to pop it down again. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take this portion here, this white portion, just on this front piece, and we're going to fold it along that line there. Okay, so I'm just going to burnish that, and then flip it over, and we do exactly the same on the other side. So we bring this edge in to the central line, line it up along the top, and do your crease, and the same on the other side. Do your crease. And then this top white flap along here, we're folding it along that line there, and true to form, I haven't got mine exactly lined up, so I'm just going to redo it there. Okay, so take that white portion and just fold it back. Okay, so it will look like that on both sides. So you'll have a little kind of tuck area here and here on both sides. It comes down to a nice point. You've got your white bit along the top. Obviously, if you're not using single-sided paper like I am, then you'll have whatever pattern from the reverse of your paper. And then if you just look at the top, it just looks like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm pulling out my white portions, and I'm just going to put my hand inside, and as you can see, I'm just gently helping it open out, and there's your little box. There's our little handles, which if you leave them down and well burnished, they make quite a good bit of rigidity for your box. Now this is the point where I said that you can use it just as a container of some sort, or you can actually make it into little pouches for happy mail and or for your journals. Now to do that, you want to take this crease here. I'm not sure, there is if you do this and as you work it, you will see that there is a crease here, and on the reverse side there's a crease there, or on the bottom side there's a crease there. So with everything opened out, and I would suggest you just kind of support it in the middle, you just want to, if I turn that sideways you might be able to see, so I've got my finger in the middle there just to hold my little box in place, and I'm going to actually put my fingers in each of the corners, and that crease is down there, and I'm just going to push it in gently towards that center line in here and the point, and if I'm careful I can just tuck and make a crease between the lines or the points at the bottom. Okay, so I've just done that. I haven't creased anything inside, So I'm going to do that on the other side so you can see again. I'm turning it round. I'm putting my finger in the centre just to stop my little container popping up. And I'm just putting my finger and thumb in either corner. And by doing that, it just keeps the box rigid. And then if you gently push that crease in and move your fingers back, you should find that where that crease hits the bottom, you should be able to just encourage a crease between that point down there and this point down here. It sounds very complicated, everybody, but trust me, it really isn't. So once you've got that crease or that line in place, just burnish that fold and that will help for the next portion. Now, as you can see, those 2 points are actually, or those that crease is actually kind of pushing the container in. So what you want to do is you just want to encourage that crease to come into the center and just line it up with the line or the crease line that's inside the container. Okay, so with your finger in place, just encourage this edge here to come down to this edge here. Okay, so if I tilt this a little bit, you're encouraging this edge here to come down to this edge here. Okay, and if you have your finger on the top of your container at that crease line, you should find that this will come in quite nicely. So I'm just going to turn that round. Maybe it's better if I turn it round so that you can see. And I'm just bringing that edge down to that point down there. I'm going to hold that and lift it up so that you can see what is happening inside. As you can see, we're getting this sort of effect inside, and I'm just going to flatten that down now, like so. Okay, and I'm going to do that on the other side. I'm going to try and do it whilst I'm holding this for you. So we're bringing this edge to along the bottom here. Okay, and if I just do that like so, you should be able to see. And again, we've got that curve inside. So once you've got this edge lined up here, just push and that will make the crease inside your container. Now we've got to do the same on the other side. And it is actually a lot easier than it looks, everybody. So I'm going to do it a little bit quicker this time. Sometimes it helps not to have your finger in there, to use your bone folder just to get this edge down to this edge. So it's there, it's in place. I'm making that crease. You have to make it on the outside, but it's making the crease on the inside of your container. And then this piece will come down to here. And again, I'm just burnishing that crease. So that's what our container looks like now. And because I've lifted it up, it's not quite absolutely square. But when you do it, because you're not lifting it up and trying to demonstrate, you will find that it will meet perfectly down the center line here. Okay, now this is what I mean about it looking like the little pouches in the origami, sorry, not in the origami, in the Chinese thread book that I mentioned. Because if you get hold of these portions here and pull, there's your little container. So you could put bits and bobs in there, close it down and send it out as happy mail. You could tie around it with some twine if that's what you wanted to do. Or what you could do is, if you just open those out, now these are your handles, if you just put a dab of glue in there and in here, close them up like so, that would secure your handles. If you do that on both sides, then you can punch an eyelet or punch a hole and put an eyelet on either side and just tie it across. If you thread your thread from this side through to the back of the handle, then take it round the back of your little pouch, up through the eyelet there to this side, and then make your tie, you've got your little pouch. So that's why I wanted to show you this one, although it's not technically a self-locking envelope, but these are just so useful for popping in journals. And you could put a little journaling card inside. You could even put a little notebook inside. And I did something very, very similar to this years and years ago when I first joined YouTube. And I put little packets of wild seeds in them. And then I popped them in a pocket in a journal. I can't remember if I actually put them in a pocket or behind a belly band, but they certainly went in a journal. Another way to close these, which is as I did with those, was to actually put a belly band round your little pouch and use that as your closure. So I suppose if you're doing what I did and taking off a little portion of paper to create the size of paper that you want to work with to make your little pouch, you have a scrap like I have here. You can quite easily make a little decorative belly band that is, of course, going to be the right length for you to create a belly band on your little pouch. And if I grab some glue, obviously this is a lot bigger than I would normally use for an overlap, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So I was going to say a dab of glue, but that's ended up being a bit more glue. But then you know what I mean, don't you, everybody? So there you go. You can have your little belly band on there as your closure, as well as tying it with some thread all the way around, or as I've mentioned, using an eyelet. So there we go. That's another idea. To make this little one, you need a square of paper. Now, I worked with a piece that is 21 centimetres square, which is approximately just over 8 inches. And it gave me a finished piece like this, which was 7 centimetres, which equates to 2 3/4 inches square. And I think that is quite a nice size to go in a journal. But obviously, depending on the size of your initial square of paper, you can reduce or increase this. Now, as I said earlier, I saw this on Pinterest and I absolutely loved it yesterday. Just look what it does. So you unflip it like this, open out your flaps, which gives you that square. Now, let me move that out of the way. If you work in double-sided paper, when you get to this point, this square will be the colour that's on the reverse of your piece of paper, and these fins or these points going out on either side will be what's uppermost on your paper, and it looks amazing. Maybe I should have done you an example of that. But what you do now is if you just get hold of these pieces and pull, your whole piece opens out to your piece of paper like so. So there is a little bit of a tricky piece in the middle of doing this, or I found that there was a slightly tricky piece. But once you get to grips with it and know what you're doing, and I'm hoping that I'm going to show you a way to make it easy, it is absolutely a lovely little fold to do. Now I'm just going to fold this up and get it back. Once it's done, it just wants to fold quite happily back into place. And I love this. I think this is be amazing to use in a journal, and I'm certainly going to be putting it in one of my journals. Okay, so let's get started. The first tip I'm going to give you is to get your square of paper. If you're using an A4 sheet of paper or a rectangular piece of paper, don't do the trick that I normally do, which is take the short edge to the long edge and make a diagonal fold and chop off the excess. You don't want any creases on this to start with because it will confuse you. Now, as I said, this piece of paper is 21 centimetres by 21, which makes it easy because we need to divide this into 3. Now, what you can do is you can do the kind of serpentine technique, which is like this, so that you can roughly well, not roughly, but as best as you can, get it to divide up into 3 portions. Now, I really find this a little bit tricky, but it does work like so. So I've measured up my top, and now what you want to do is you just want to open it up and make those creases all the way down your piece of paper, like so. And your folds are coming in to the center of your paper. You're not actually doing one fold one way and one fold the other way. So I have my piece of paper there divided into 3. Now what you want to do, and it looks like that, now what you want to do is you want to do the same but in that orientation. Now this one again is slightly tricky if you're doing the serpentine thingamajiggy style way of doing it, but I'm going to have a go. Or if you prefer, you can always just measure it out, everybody, and do it that way. So this one seems to be going quite nicely now. So there's my creases in place. So I'm just going to, which way is that folding? These are folding inwards, so I'm going to do these the same way. Flip it round, follow those crease lines, and I'm just going to burnish. Okay, so when I open it up, it looks like so, and all my creases are on one side. So all my valley folds are one side, and those are my mountain folds, so it looks like that. What we're going to be doing now is we're going to be working around this central square, so you need to bear that in mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it so that we have the points top and bottom. You've got our square there, and what you're going to do is you're going to crease on this side and this side. So from this point of your square out to this point, and from this point on your internal square out to that point. So to do that, take your bottom point up to the top and just hold it with your fingers. Just come down, and instead of making a crease all the way along there, just spot where these creases meet here, and do the same on the other side, like so. And if you open it up, it looks like that. You've got your creases across those portions here, but not across the center. Well, you have got a slight crease, but it's not a reinforced crease with your bone folder. So now rotate it and do exactly the same thing. So there's our internal square, and you want to crease across that portion and that portion. So same as we did last time, bottom point up to the top, and then you can see where those creases meet and go along the bottom, and the same on this side along the bottom there. Now it might look a bit strange on camera, but trust me, if you're doing this, you will see where those creases are. Maybe if I hold them up to the camera. So what I've done is I've not creased this portion, which would be right across or diagonally across the center square, but I've creased these outside edges like that, and then if I open it up, you get that. Now we take our piece of paper and we flip it over. Again, have your points top and bottom, and we're taking this bottom point and we're taking it up to this point. So there's our internal square, and we're taking it up to that point. So take that point up to there. Don't crease it all the way along the bottom, just crease from that crease out to your right. Open it out and go along to the next point. Take it up to there and crease from the center off to the right. And again, all the way round. So we're working with that internal square to create our creases. And if we open our piece of paper out, it looks like that now. Now take the paper and flip it over so it looks like that. Okay, now this is where I said the tricky bit comes. Now, I found that I want to reinforce the folds to encourage the paper to fold as I want it to go. So when I first saw this, they were just grabbing the piece of paper and they were just pushing it together and it all went into its folds. Now, I found my piece of paper wouldn't do that, so I've added in an extra little step. So what you want to do is, if you see the folds there, your paper is effectively divided up into 9 squares, and that's our central square. So if you take this bottom left hand square, you'll see that there's a crease there and a crease there. So what you do, or what I do, is I just fold up that crease line there and make those 2 creases match so that it looks like that. Now what we want to do is that crease line there, you want to encourage it to fold along there. Now to do that, this piece comes out to your left. So effectively what you're doing is you're pushing it down so that the crease line there meets the one underneath. And I'm just going to flip that over so that you can see it. Okay, so having done that, just reinforce this crease here and that diagonal crease and then open it out. Okay, so now we're going to work on this one. So I turn it round towards me. That crease and that crease, let those 2 come together like so and pinch them. There's your sticky out bit there, and just push this point down to that line. Okay, so straight ahead, and this piece comes out to the side, and again just burnish those creases. So I'm going to do that all the way round. So I've done that one and this one. I'm now going to work on this one. So I'm going to, maybe if I leave it this way round, you might be able to see what I'm doing if I'm doing it from a different angle. So that crease there and this crease there, I'm letting them come up and meet so that you get this little sticky out bit. And then this point I'm taking down to this line but on the other side. So this effectively comes in like that. That point is going down, as you can see, and this bit goes out. And I'm just doing that burnish. I think that might help to see it from that angle. So finally, this one, that crease and that crease come together. Oops, a daisy. There's my point. This point is now coming down to here. So I'm bringing it down and towards me to that point and burnishing that crease there. Okay, so that's our piece of paper, and as I say, you can miss out this portion or this little section of the creasing if you find it easier, but I found I needed, first time round, I found that I needed to do this to kind of encourage my paper to fold as I wanted to do. Now we've done those folds, or we've reinforced those folds, and we've done it individually, we're now going to do it all together. All right, trust me, it's not as hard. So close that one up and force it down to there. But as you're doing that, these 2 will close up like that, and you don't want that to happen. So you open those up, you open that point up, close up that point that you had before and let it go over. And the same with this one. Let it go over and it automatically folds into place. Trust me, it does. So let's try that again, because it is a little bit tricky to get. So fold those 2 together maybe if I do it that way, fold those opposite ones together and then just pull one away from you, one towards you. Yep. And because you've reinforced those folds, it goes. All right. So burnish your creases, everybody. Now, really easy bit now. You take this right hand point and bend it in so that you're creating a triangle inside. You take this one and do likewise, but you're folding it up this time. You're taking the next one, so you're going round in a clockwise motion, folding everything in and just burnishing. And when you get to your last one, again, fold it in, burnish, and then just tuck it under the very first triangle that you folded in, or flap that you folded in, and it will, when it goes in, and this one doesn't want to go in, there we go, just encourage it to go in. It's because I didn't burnish it properly before I started doing that last maneuver. When you fold it in each time, burnish well. So there we go. That's our little I don't know, secret journaling spot, pinwheel journaling spot, whatever you want to call it. Now on the back there is a little hole on each of the sides, so you could use that as a little mini journaling secret tuck spot. It's not very deep at all unless you're using a thin tag, but it will be enough for you to pop something in if you wanted to. And as always, depending on how you glue the back, depends on whether you can have a tuck spot behind it or to one side. But certainly in the centre of a page, I think that would make quite a nice little journaling spot for in the centre of your journals. And as I say, once you master this little bit, it really is easy. So don't forget, you're pushing this star or this point up and this point towards you, and then everything should just fold into place. Keep burnishing your folds as you go, and it does make life a lot easier for doing this little one, I found. But now that you've seen it done, once you've had a go, honestly, it really does become a nice little easy one to do, and as I say, certainly one that I'll be using in my journals in the future. So there we have those, or that one. We have that one, and we have this one as well. So I'm going to pop that one behind like so. And I mentioned the little seed packet that I had done in a previous video years ago, and I managed to find it in amongst my templates, and that's what it looks like. Now I have to say that this is a different fold from this one. This is the fold that you do for the pouches in the Chinese thread book, but it gives the same result, as near as damn it the same result. And this is what I meant about the belly band that you can create like I did there to go round it. And as you can see, I just did this out of book pages. I put a piece of card on the back, and if I tip that out, a little bit of this was a piece of the packaging from the wildflower seeds that I bought, and I just made this little vellum envelope, and the seeds are inside, and there's just a cute little dangle to finish up my threads from my messy machine stitching all the way around. So there we go, everybody. Thank you as always for watching, and as I said, this really is the last video in the mini series of the self-locking envelopes, because we've kind of gone off at a tangent, as you do. But there we go. Hope you enjoyed everything that I've shown you today, and take care. See you in the next video, everybody. Bye for now.